All right, we are live. Welcome in, everyone. It's BTB Analytics. We are back again for NFL Championship Weekend. And there were 4 teams, 2 games left until we figure out who is going to be playing in the Super Bowl this year. We got 2 good matchups. We're going to talk about both of them pretty in depth today. Hopefully talk about some matchup angles, some other data, what our numbers are showing, give you guys all the breakdowns, all the information you need ahead of this weekend. Let's get into the show.
Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please. I'm trying to get paid. Not today.
All righty, boys. Yes, and then there were 4 teams. I would say 3 of the 4 were probably ones that were relatively expected to be here, right? Commanders, they opened the season plus 15,000 to win the Super Bowl. So they were definitely one of the teams with the longer odds coming into the season. But yeah, here they are, man. Yeah, they've just been defying the odds, literally, metaphorically, all season long. So gonna be a fun weekend. So yeah, we got 2 matchups, and let's just get into it. Let's start breaking these things down and see what we got ahead of us here. So first one, let's talk about it. Commanders and the Eagles. This one's in Philadelphia, of course. Relatively interesting open. So this opened at -5 at Bookmaker and 4.5 at Pinnacle, from what I can see. Circa opened a little bit later on this one at 6, and now it's mostly at 6 in the market. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I saw 6.5 a little bit earlier today. I think it was a little expensive at FanDuel as well, but we make the number 4 here when the mark was at 6, so just a ever so slight lean to the Commanders here, but not nearly enough for us to make it a play here. But nonetheless, yeah, this one, the third matchup, of the season with these two, they split it 1-1. The home team won each of the matchups respectively. So yeah, Seth, come into this one, you have strength on strength again situation where Washington's offense coming in, being one of the top, if not the top offense, and conversely the Philadelphia defense being one of the top in the league as well. So what's the nuance here for this game, and how do you see this game playing out from a script standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit it head on the nail. Washington, obviously a team that wasn't on a lot of people's bingo card to be here, but yet here they are. Washington is 7.7 points better than an average offense. Philly, 7.5 points better than an average offense. So when we're talking about the offensive side of the ball, these teams are similarly matched. But when we're talking about the defensive side of the ball, that's where these teams are very different. Washington, 0.7 points better than an average defense. Philly, 7.3 points better than an average defense. So when we're talking about the defensive side of the ball, Philadelphia is definitely the team there. Now, interestingly enough, though, when we look at the drive level, this is where things are a lot less extreme, in my opinion, when we look at the quality drives that their opponents are able to have. So how likely or how frequently do the opponents of these defenses get to the 40 or better? Philly, 42%, Washington, 50%. So this game is going to come down to a handful of possessions in my mind. And Washington does take the cake slightly on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't know if we're looking at a live dog situation. When we look at these teams' tendencies and kind of how or what they tend to do, Philly is by far a run first team. We're looking at a team that is negative 10% pass rate over expected, i.e. 10% run rate over expected. This is a team that looks to run first. Washington, much more balanced. They're a 1% run rate over expected team. So they're much closer to kind of an average team running and passing the ball. The one thing I wonder here, though, when we look at the game plan variance kind of stuff, and we're going to bring it up here right now, there's an interesting angle in my mind. If we look here on that first graph where we look at offensive game plan variance on the x-axis and offensive EPA per play, we can see that the Eagles are a team that is changing what they do week to week, and they are a highly efficient offense. When we look at that second graph, we're looking at EPA per pass on defense on the x-axis and EPA per rush on the y-axis. And what that placement for Washington is a team that is a little bit susceptible to the run. And so to me, you have a lot of news going on around Jalen Hurts. Is he injured? Is he dead? Is he a drug addict? All these questions. But in my mind, Saquon legacy game. Like, he's obviously had an incredible season, and this is an interesting angle. I asked the question rhetorically when we're looking at the data. Go to look at the market. This dude, his numbers couldn't be
Crazy.
more inflated.
Yeah,
We're
crazy.
talking like negative 45% edges on taking his unders, because right now his numbers are insanely inflated, like 4 or 5 carries over his average, like 20 yards over his average yards. So I kind of think maybe Saquon legacy game, but from a betting standpoint, you're overpaying.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just a quick note on that too is I saw floating around today on Twitter. I think his over underline is 130 in some spots. You can get like a 125, I think, FanDuel, but 130 over under.
Yeah.
So to your point, the legacy game, I think the market is somewhat hinting at that potential.
More than hinting, dude. They're like basically he's gonna have a legacy game. And I wanted to go back and check this. Gibbs, 14 carries, 105 yards. So I mean, Gibbs 8 last week in that game, and Detroit had a higher success rate. Washington, I don't want to say they didn't win that game, but both these teams, quite frankly, when we're talking the Bills and the Commanders, these are teams, when we look at the net success rate, both of those teams had negative net success rates in those games. And so I don't know what to make of that. The only other thing too, we've been working on a totals model. So I wanted to roll that out. Over under 47.5 right now. We make this number 49. That's about a 1% edge. Not enough for me personally to bet it. I think you really want to be targeting 2 and above, but it looks like this thing got open at 48, got back down to 47. 47s are still there, but there has been some buyback to 48. So 49 could be a play there. 40 over 47.5 on the over.
Okay, Steve, what do you got for us? Couple of nuance points. I mean, this is going to be to Seth's point too. Like the Hurts question mark. I think no one's really going to know throughout the week how, frankly, severe that situation is. He'll give the questionable designation, I would presume, but is that one of the driving factors on how this game goes this week, or is there something else that you think or the market's not picking up?
Yeah, no, I mean, let's not overblow things, right? I mean, this is the NFL, this is the playoffs, right? We're going to have everyone's hurt and banged up, and you're going to have these rumors, and no one really knows, right? But I want to call back out something. You mentioned these teams went 1-1, home team winning. Let's not forget the last time they played, Hurts only had 4 attempts before he got knocked out with that concussion. Kenny Pickett came in, right? So Commanders won that game 36-33, and it took a 22-point fourth quarter for that to happen. And for me, like, that's the more concerning part here. And I do sort of mentally agree. I don't know if I have the balls enough to take it, but I do mentally agree that Washington, there should be some edge here, because we talk about, if we can pull back up the landscape here, we talk about Washington's defense being their Achilles heel all season long. Let's not forget, actually, can we do the week 21 landscape? Yeah, thank you. Or actually, I think there's one with all the teams on there too, just to make it a little easier. But yeah, we talk about Washington's defense.
I think that's just the variance one that we have, just by the way, Steve.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have that one. Just this one.
Oh, okay, I thought I saw it in the drive. That's fine. Neither here nor there. So the Commanders, though, like, their defense has been getting steadily better almost every week. And we've mentioned this point multiple times when talking about the Commanders and their rise. I mean, they were dead last in defensive EPA, especially on the pass side of the ball. But overall, they've been getting better. The fact that they are a negative defensive EPA is a modern miracle given where they started this year, right? And we saw what they did with the Lions. And so I guess my point being here, though, is that there is a game script, and we have seen evidence of how the Commanders can beat the defense, because Saquon Barkley, talk about his player props here. The first time they played, he had 26 rushes for, I think, 146 yards. The second time they played, he had 29 rushes for 160. So, yeah, I get why the numbers are inflated, and clearly that's how the Eagles' game script is. Yeah, they do have a good offensive game plan variance, but let's not forget about that run rate over expected. The problem for me here is, even with Kenny Pickett in, you still saw Saquon get the ball, but you saw that Eagles defense collapse in the fourth quarter to Jaden Daniels. So people are saying this is going to be a blowout game. I definitely do not see that. This is a divisional game, third time they're playing. But for me as well, I mean, I think you're going to see what these two teams do well. You're going to see Jaden Daniels move this offense with a surprisingly evenly mixed balance of run and pass, and then you're going to see the Eagles lean on Saquon. I mean, people talked about Jalen Hurts and now he doesn't have a great game, and that, he's got to be one of those people who has got to elevate his play for the Eagles to go far. They don't have to. because no one can stop the running game in Philly between him and Saquon. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I don't know. I'm not really surprised that this is under one score. I'm not surprised that it's moved towards Washington. I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than people expect.
Okay, yeah, I kind of hope you're wrong, just because still holding on to the Phillies futures, baby.
Sure.
So
they can win, just not, they can win by field goal.
Of course.
Doesn't your argument kind of make an argument for Philly? You're saying that without a fourth quarter, major comeback, without Hurts being injured, does Washington make that comeback?
No, I guess you're saying no. Let me add a little more nuance to that. I think if you go back and look at that game or rewatch that game, a lot of what happened in that fourth quarter, that comeback happened despite Washington defense kind of imploding on multiple third down longs, right? They had a lot of face masks, pass interference, things like that extended the drives, and the Eagles still couldn't convert. Now, again, Kenny Pickett versus Jalen Hurts. I do want to be absolutely clear. That is, I'm not trying to underestimate that, right? But I guess my point being, though, is we saw this game script where things really didn't deviate. To me, the Eagles have a game plan, as we kind of highlighted on that game plan's variance matchup, where, they wanted to feed Saquon the ball, and Saquon was pretty damn effective. But again, for me, it's the opposite side. It's not that the offense necessarily collapsed. It's that the defense allowed 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Now, you can call that high variance, sure. But Jaden Daniels is arguably playing the best football out of any quarterback left in the playoffs right now. So I don't think it's not reproducible, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen them struggle. Like when we've pointed out the defensive echo rate a lot for the opposing Washington teams here, and Tampa was the same thing as Detroit, which is both echo rates at 50 or higher for those teams' defenses. So you can drive on them. With an echo rate here for Philly at 42%, is that enough to limit successful drives for Washington? That's what I'm really curious about. I was also interesting in the data here. Hurts in the last 10 games, 6.9 points added. I was really surprised that Daniels is only 5.2 points added. So he's not,
that's in the last how many?
Last 10.
Last 10. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. Like, is there a game script where fuck running the ball, they're just gonna, like, Jalen Hurts is like gonna be pocket passer? Like, I don't know. I genuinely asked that question out loud, but he's obviously not gonna be able to run it to the same degree. I think that's probably why you're seeing the inflated
safe presumption, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably safe to assume that they would attack that, but I don't know. Is there a world where you have AJ Brown, you have all these other weapons, and you go after that, first?
Okay, yeah, I think that's very plausible for sure. And one other thing I want to get your guys' thoughts on, because I saw this floating around, and then I actually took some action on a prop already. So hopefully, I don't know, either talk me to cashing out of it or maybe talk me into doubling down. Here we go.
All right.
So
triple
down, maybe, why not? Okay, so. And shout out to Taysheth for leading me down this rabbit hole. Taysheth, friend of the show, good follow on Twitter as well. Lots of data driven and really insightful stuff on Twitter. So he had pointed out a breakdown of quarterback EPA on scramble plays, and Jaden Daniels is number 1 in the league in EPA generated when scrambling. He leads the league in 85 such plays. Okay, that's like 35 more than the next closest one. The Eagles on the flip side of this are number 25th all season long in scramble rate allowed. Okay. And to peel that one layer back, the type of defense that the Eagles play on a kind of a coverage rate, they play cover 3, 4, or 6. So deep zone coverage is 67% of the time.
Okay.
So you have the situation where down an O lineman, maybe perhaps there's some extra early pressure either from somewhere that Jaden notices, and he's going to be maybe slightly more quick, to get out of the pocket or scramble, especially if they stick with those type of zone coverages or that they've been privy to. So looking at Jaden Daniels' rush attempts, 10.5. Minus 105. Bet Rivers is the best I saw earlier. So took some action on that, and Yeah, I mean, I'd like to your point that I think the game script, if it goes that way, then their pass rate over expected too. They just drop back, I, not as much as I would have thought, frankly. But still, I think those things in combination that seemed like a good play to me. So took some action on that one.
I need not forget not just the scrambles, but the design runs. Like, I mean, him running the ball is a part of that offense. So I'm with you. I think the rush attempts is a good angle, and I don't think that's too far off his median attempts as is. So,
did you take a look at his yards by chance?
I thought about it, but yeah, just higher.
Those look to be
higher,
a little inflated.
Yeah, higher variance with the yards too, and I just felt a little more comfortable with attempts because you have a potential. Okay, if 53.5 is his total, as Eric says, our producer, that's, I don't know, it's not too rich for my blood, but
his median is 48.19. You can get a 52 minus 117. I mean, yeah, it's not.
Chad says Eagles will be spying with Zebon all game, which, I mean, most teams probably are spying him to begin with anyway. But
yeah, well, to your point though, that's the difference between the yards and the attempts.
Yeah,
spy means not a lot of yards potentially if they're good at it, but the attempts are that they're going to try.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think obviously they're correlated to some degree. And you really only need like one to pop off. But I think it's a good. I think it's good. I mean, which comes back to what's the model picking up there for the over 47.5, right? Which is kind of that these game states with which both these teams are able to kind of move the ball, which tends to, if both teams can move the ball, then high totals are going to be in a weird way, in my mind, more correlated with the dog winning and covering here. Low totals are more of the favorite for me with Philly, with them covering and winning, limiting possessions, defensive battle. I think so. I don't know. This is an interesting game. When's the last time we've seen a divisional
championship game? Championship matchup?
Yeah. Interesting to this will be the third time
for sure. Yeah, the only thing I want to mention before we move on to the other one too is we tease a little bit that we're still holding the Phillies plus 1,500 futures that
1987 was the last time.
Shout out whoever pulled that one out of there.
He's fast.
All right, let's go. Quick on the sticks, man. Let's go.
Between these two teams.
Oh, no kidding. How about that? Okay. So yeah, we're holding the plus 1,500 futures still, and I will probably, excuse me, I'm probably going to do one of two things. I'm either going to cash out one of the double dip bets because those are like at 3.5x their value right now, each one. So I could realize basically almost 2 units just cashing out one of them and have a free roll for the other one. Or I'm maybe debating on waiting later in the week to see where the money line odds are and just try to, do the math and figure out the perfect hedge amount on Washington Commanders money line, because best price right now, looks to be 250 at Profit X. Win more, lose less. So we'll see. I don't expect that to move too much off of that number as the week goes on, but I'll hold out a little hope.
We gotta get Warren Sharp on the show. Like, he gets a lot of shit, but how many years have we used this method? And we've been in the thick of it with a ticket that's
this is the third. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
We did Rams, Philly, Baltimore, Philly.
Baltimore last year, Philly 4. This year, yeah. Okay, no, you're right. 4. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about Philly was the other one. Yeah. So it's been fruitful for sure. So if you guys aren't familiar with it, for now, still go check out our TikTok page, and I think maybe buried on our YouTube page, we have a video on it as well. For the moment, TikTok is still around. We'll see how much longer, but that's the Warren Sharp method that Seth is referring to is basically using his data that he aggregates. I don't know, sometime in June, July, right? That time frame.
Yeah, maybe even later, more like August.
Okay.
It's his book that he puts out.
Yeah, so basically gives different positional groups ratings, and we incorporate strength of schedule in there. So we aggregate all that and basically just compare it against the Super Bowl odds. And it's a good has been, to Seth's point, a good, fun, and frankly profitable way for us to bet into the futures market. So
yeah, but you said you are going to cash one out now, one of your double dips.
I am
And
highly
that's
considering it. Yeah.
you
I
should.
mean, this
I mean,
is
you saw
this.
what they did to the Lions. I just listen. I'm just saying things are things, right? But this is a dangerous team. But you do you, baby.
Is it
Yeah.
better to cash it or hedge it or just bet 250 money line? Because then you could lose and then you're just with 2 tickets.
Yeah, there's that element of it. And obviously, if the hedge loses, I still have to factor in a
Yeah.
second hedge.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is literally the double dip methodology incarnate.
This is why.
Like,
This is how you
you
draw it up.
literally you get to make profit and keep your upside intact.
Yeah. Mr. Katz, I don't know if you just heard that explanation, very high level, but let us know if that answers it or not. I mean, it's not like we have a formula for it per se, but
Literally just add the numbers.
yeah.
Well, I mean, put it like this. Well, if you guys don't know, what we'll do is we'll redrop it as a shorts. That's simple enough.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
take it. We'll do it right. We'll do it tonight. So just make sure you take a look on our page, and we'll have a video on it.
All right. Commanders, Eagles, that is the first game of the weekend. Let's move on to the other matchup, AFC matchup, the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. This one should be just hella fun in every way, shape, or form. This one opened at -1.5 over at Circa and Pinnacle. I think Bookmaker opened with a 1, and now it's a 1.5 or 2 really in the market. So we make it a pick 'em. Really no edge on either side from our perspective. So gonna be geeking out fans for the most part. At least I am personally. But Steve, I don't know if you have any other action on this, or what is your general feeling going into this game for how this script plays?
Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but I think this is, and we're gonna sound like a broken record here, but I think this is the year Buffalo gets through. I mean, this is a Buffalo team that has looked the strongest in the most unconventional way, right? I mean, we've talked about this team, not really having a star, receiver number one ever since the Diggs departure, and they've been doing well between Coleman, Hollins, and Cooper, and everyone else. And they haven't been beating themselves. Their defense definitely leaves some stuff to be desired, but they're doing enough, right? They're forcing the fumbles, they're winning the turnover battle. And quite frankly, yes, Chiefs are a team that don't beat themselves either. And so that's why I think this is going to be a damn tight game. But the Chiefs have been a team that have looked extremely suspect throughout this year, but they've done enough to win. I don't know that the Bills or the Chiefs have enough here to get through. Now, I'll tell you this from betting standpoint, I have not touched this. I'm glad that there is kind of no value here because as a fan, I just want to thoroughly enjoy this game. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be the one I'm getting my popcorn ready.
Yeah, Steve, to your point, real quick, the Chiefs take care of business, they handle it, whatever. 0 turnovers from the Chiefs in the last 8 games, which is the longest streak in the Super Bowl era.
They don't make mistakes.
They don't make mistakes. They play good ball. And again, Mahomes, baby. Mahomes is inevitable, right?
It feels like it. The data do not support that he's inevitable, which is more data that he is inevitable. Buffalo, 11.1 points better than an average team. Kansas City, only 3.3 points better than an average offensive team. Sorry. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Kansas City's defense isn't what it was. I mean, even after that game, they've dropped a bunch. Negative 0.3 points better than an average team. So just basically right at average. And then Buffalo is 0.8 points worse than an average team. So let's basically call both of these defenses average. But you have such a much higher ceiling here for the Bills. But Mahomes is inevitable. And one of the stats I think is quite important when we look at echo rate. So on offensive side of the ball, how often do these teams drive to the 40 or better? And when we look at echo rate for Buffalo, 59% of their drives are getting to the 40 or better. Kansas City, only 50% of their drives. But when we look at how many points they get per those quality drives, Buffalo, 5.5 points, Kansas City, 5 points per drive. So, this game can come down to one drive, and in my mind, and because Kansas City is so efficient when they do get down there, they are getting touchdowns. And quarterback wise, Mahomes 8 points added in the last 10 games. Allen 12.9. So again, another metric that favors the Bills offense here. The one thing I did think that I did not realize, and I feel kind of crazy for this, and I would love to get your guys' thoughts. When we look at tendencies, what do these teams do? Do they run? Do they pass first? Kansas City, pass first team, 4% pass rate over expected. I don't know. I guess that went over my head this whole season. This is a team that is not running the ball first. They're throwing the ball first, which is quite interesting. And then when we look at Buffalo, they are a run first team, -4% pass rate over expected. So, for me, that's something interesting. And can we see that same Kelsey game? But in my mind, I was on here last week. It was not hyperbolic. Houston very much could have won that game. They very much could have covered that game. When you look at net success rate, it came down to a couple of missed field goals and things like that and mistakes. Some calls, yes, went for Kansas City, but like they capitalized on every single mistake, and it came down to a missed field goal for not covering if you had less than 9, and if you have the 9, you push. So I don't know, but you can make the same case for the Bills. If you really look at that net success rate, the Bills did not dominate that game. They generated, 2 turnovers that were insanely, important, and then you had a dropped, PAT to 2-point conversion that could have tied it. So,
I mean,
I was just gonna say, my dumb mental model is like, yeah, Bills all day, but it's obviously not that simple.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think last weekend was one of those weird fluky situations where all of the winning teams had a negative net success rate, which is generally does not happen, right? So, I mean, small sample size, right? You only had four games really, but still kind of one of the quirky things come out of last weekend. So a lot of, to your point, turnovers, a lot of high variance type of situations that contributed. So
yeah, but speaking of turnovers, though, like that's one of the things that looking at Josh Allen, how this Buffalo team is evolving, right? I mean, we were on this podcast last year talking about Josh Allen was the favorite to win MVP and the favorite to lead the league in interceptions, and we were talking about how understanding EPA and Josh being a gunslinger, and sure, he's throwing interceptions in the red zone, but those are on 4th down and longs where a check down does you no good. But looking at this year, just from a simple high point view, Josh, touchdown interception ratio 28-6 this year, 29-18 last year. I mean, he's taking care of the ball. He's evolving more within this team. And I think that's what you're seeing, back to your point, Seth, about them not beating themselves all that often. And so when you don't do that, you don't have to rely as much on the high variance plays. Because I think we can all agree Baltimore is the better team. I don't know if I can say the same for the Chiefs this year against Buffalo, but I think they're going to make it damn hard for them to beat them. So that's just my take.
Yeah. I think the one interesting thing about the run rate and pass rate over expected is like these kind of feels like role reversal. This Buffalo team might be a little bit more equipped to win that 19-17 game, where yes, Mahomes is inevitable, but if it has to come down to a throw this season, they've had some crazy outcomes, on high leverage one play games. I mean, how many games did they win by one possession? I don't know. Right. If you're a Bills fan, I think there's a lot to believe here, and but you've been here before. Mahomes has done it.
We all have, unfortunately. Yeah. Right.
And if honestly, that's what's driving these numbers. Like you only get this number of pick 'em because you throw Mahomes in there as a variable, and whatever his stats are, what they are, yes, you throw those in there as well. But like Mahomes is just adding all of this cover probability and win probability because he's just literally inevitable.
Right. I don't feel as good or strongly about it as in the first game, but I was also looking at an angle with Allen's rush attempts. 9.5 is the line currently. Okay. And I mentioned Jaden Daniels is number 1 in EPA generated when on scramble plays. Number 2, Josh Allen. And I couldn't quite find any like kind of defensive schematic trend type stuff to kind of support this Allen angle. Yeah. But even money at BetMGM plus 100, over 9.5 rushing attempts.
Is there EV on that, or is that just like well priced? Like it's priced even?
It's priced even, just a kind of a good, relatively, it's about 3% better than market.
Can we pull up the pass variance and the defensive and this one, exactly. Kansas City. Okay, so Kansas City is kind of like better than average rush, but basically average pass. So I mean,
I mean, I don't know about that number. Just like begging me to take it. It feels like, and I can't.
I mean, what's the angle here? I mean, the angle is that he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get the first downs. And
Yeah, the angle is what was the pass rate over expected? -4? What did we say?
-4%.
Yeah, -4%. Cold weather game. Tush
You know,
push.
they are a run first team. I think they mostly.
You know, kind of these unquantifiable variables.
How many rushes? How many rush attempts?
9.5. 9.5.
His median is 7.7. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, like I said,
Yeah,
don't feel
I think he
as
has
strongly
big time
about it.
rushes. I don't know about the numbers, but the rushes do seem to come in a big spot. I think that's why that's why that feels good. But
Okay.
listen, you ask any Buffalo fan, they're going to tell you who's the best running back in the league. Josh Allen.
Sure. Yeah. Speaking just kind of along those lines though too, Seth, since you mentioned it for the other game. So we mentioned the total on that one, but for this one opened at 49. It looks like it's down a little bit to 47.5, mostly in the market. Do you have in front of you what the
we made it 47. So no
47.
value. Yeah, we're right on that current new number. Weather's a little tricky here because it's going to be balls cold. And then wind, wind is really important for total models. So, you're whatever 6 days out. So I don't, this is something I've been building and we take weather and wind into it. But, I imagine Kansas City has some variability around this time of year, how windy it can get. So as of right now, no value on that play.
Okay. Sounds good. And
if you can get a 2.5, so 2.5 becomes the tipping point. Plus 2.5 Buffalo, that's when you get some real value and you can start to chug away. I don't think we get there, but if you want to be a Buffalo backer and you want to have expected value, the 2.5 I think is the number you got to hit.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I got a couple of quick things I want to run by you guys, but anything else for this matchup specifically?
No, go Buffalo.
Okay. Go the Bills. All right, let's do it. All right. So most of the rec books especially have these hypothetical matchup and lines available, right, for the Super Bowl look ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So wanted to get your guys' thoughts real quick on, who we expect to advance number 1 and number 2, just kind of what these, what these lines say. So if the Bills win and the Commanders win, okay, the line would be -4.5 Bills. Total 53.5. Feels, because where's the New Orleans, right? Is the Super Bowl?
Yeah, New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay. So Commanders would be dogs either way, 4.5 against the Bills or the Chiefs, which I find interesting. So same number there. And then if the Eagles were to win, they would be dogs against KC by 1.5 points, as well as dogs against Buffalo 1.5 points.
I mean, that math, they're just using a market rating.
Sure. But so just kind of hearing, just as to maybe to try to sway your brain somewhat to an extent, like what are you guys' takes on who wins these weekends? Who wins this weekend?
This weekend.
Yeah.
I'll take Eagles Bills.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think Commanders Bills.
Commanders Bills.
I think Commanders Bills.
This podcast always says Chiefs inevitable, and we neither. Please tell me you're taking the Chiefs, Kevin. just for credibility, someone's
just to save face, right? Yeah, Mahomes is inevitable, but yeah, I feel like we're gonna have a rematch of a couple years ago.
Ooh, 2 years
Chiefs
ago.
Eagles. Right, that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, so go Birds, baby. Yeah, I think Mahomes ends up being inevitable again. I don't know the three-peat though. God, that's so crazy to think about that they're on the doorstep of that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but I hope the Bills win, kind of like you guys. But I think I just don't. I cannot put my money where my mouth is. I'm not brave enough to bet Bills, frankly.
I have to say again, if Washington beats the Eagles, what is Buffalo? 51% defensive equal rate. Like these teams that allow, like you can have good, defensive numbers, but when you allow these successful drives, that seems to be the tipping point for Washington's success. And I would be shitting bricks if I was a Buffalo fan. I'd rather honestly play Philly.
Yeah.
They seem like a more linear team that I can beat. I can try to ground and pound and potentially, stop Saquon, and I think I can win that game. I don't know what my game plan is if I have to play Washington. It's like, oh yeah, just be a really good defense. this isn't really Buffalo's super strength. It's
Sure.
being really efficient offensively.
Right. Yeah. That would be just like the kind of the wet dream football fan matchup. Bills Commanders, I think, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
So
It
that's
should
what
be
America wants. Come on.
that's
No,
what
America wanted Detroit, Buffalo, and
Well,
all
that's
right.
what we got left. Yeah. Come on, script writers. Do us a solid
Yeah.
one.
I think America is now like this is plan B, right? This is like the vice president stepping up here. Like they saw what the Commanders did to the Lions, was like, all right, yeah, hell yeah, let's roll.
I guess.
Man. All right. It's gonna be a good fun weekend. We'll see who comes out and who's gonna be playing in New Orleans in a couple weeks. So I think we won't have a show probably next week. Or maybe sometime next week. I'm not sure exactly when, but regularly scheduled programming will probably be modified to some extent. So yeah, we mentioned it. No official plays for us this weekend. The model is sitting at 41 and 33, where that's good for 55.4% win rate so far. So we are profitable no matter what happens, even if there's only one game left. So we are in the money, baby. So congrats to everyone who has been with us along the way. That does not even include the futures model and futures as well. Which correct me if I'm wrong. Do we go 7-1?
I think it was 1-6. Might have been 7-1. We missed Saints over 7.5.
It was Saints. Yeah, it was Saints over 7.5. But I think all the other ones did. I forget if
all
it was
the other
6
ones
or
hit.
7.
I don't remember how many it was, but all of the other ones hit.
Right,
It was Atlanta under 9.5.
Yeah.
Saints over 7.5. That obviously lost. Under 10.5 for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Under. Damn, I forget.
It was
under
Bears.
8.5 for Bears.
Bears, yeah.
And then over, the other over was.
Did you say Falcons already?
Yeah, we had 3 unders, which was Cincinnati 8.5. Sorry, Cincinnati 10.5. Atlanta
just look this back up.
9.5. Yeah. Chicago 8.5. Then we had 2 overs, which were
Trust us when we say it was good.
over Saints 7.5, which that one lost. And man, I can't remember the other one, but
it's gonna bug me now. I'm looking it up right now. Give me 10 seconds. Fill the space. Fill the space.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, profitable. Yeah, another profitable season. NFL, we've been 55% 2 years in a row. Futures model 2 years in a row. I'm really excited to see what year 3 is. I think we our models and like we were teasing before.
Okay, so there's only 5, so we're not missing one. So it was over New Orleans, over Minnesota, under Cincinnati, under Chicago, under Atlanta.
Yeah, Minnesota. That was the one we forgot.
Okay.
Minnesota over 7.5.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go.
Indeed. All right, boys. Yeah, been real. We'll be back. We'll be back for one more Super Bowl preview show. We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. We'll be going live again. So hopefully, given I'm excited to talk about prop bets, just because why the fuck not?
Yeah. I mean, before we go, give me the over 47.5 minus 110 for the Washington Commanders Eagles game. It's like a 1.2% edge, but I trust the model. I like the early buyback here. I think this closes at 49, and I think now is the time to buy. Assuming no weather, which is as of now, it's pretty. That's the fair assumption. So I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah. Shout out. You can get that 47.5 widely available. If you want, you can get it 47.5 minus 103. It looks like Profit X. Win more, lose less. Use code BTB when signing up. Get your welcome bonus for the first 30 days. So, all right, gentlemen, it's been real. It's been good. Good discussion. I'm excited for this weekend. We'll see. We'll be back. Appreciate everyone tuning in with the engagement, with the comments. If you guys haven't already, like the video, please subscribe to the channel, tell your friends. We'll be doing obviously shows for the next week or so here, but come the off season, if you guys have been with us for some time, you know that we will be putting out not only some general educational stuff, but we have some interesting and pretty fun, cool stuff in the works for college basketball. So you guys have been, you guys are in for, I think, a pretty unique tool and experience with that. So more to come on that, but be sure to follow along. We'll be posting a lot more about that here in the coming days as well. So, all right. Appreciate everyone. It's been real. Go Bills. Go Birds.
Go
See you guys.
Bears.